What's going on? Let's talk about being creative today. Alright, so first things first is artists and producers out here. I know you want to be remembered. And let's really go back and let's really think about this. If you want to be remembered, you have to do something that's memorable. And a lot of times we get caught up in, oh, okay, this guy sounds good, or she sounds good, he sounds good, let me sound like that person. Or, you know, let me kind of tailor, you know, my work in their footsteps. And then you get a little caught up in actually becoming somebody that you're not. And at the end of the day, we don't need more Chris Browns, we don't need more Ushers because we already have one. We don't need another Rihanna, we don't need another Katy Perry because we already have one. So what I want to talk to you about today is being creative. And that is like allowing your free spirit to truly express itself in ways that nobody else can do it. You know, nobody can express you better than you can. So that's where you already have a leg up on your competition. And that's where the greats, that's how the greats are remembered, because they freely express themselves, you know, in the purest form possible, and it can never be replicated. And when they do it to the best of their ability, and you know, of course, it takes some type of talent, but those are the people that are remembered. So let's get on that. I guess the hardest part of being that creative, that true creative, is actually separating your thoughts from what you already hear, what's already out there. So I mean, we're easily influenced by other sounds and things that we hear on the radio and on TV or whatnot. And I mean, that stuff gets planted in our subconscious mind. And what tends to happen is when we're creating, we tend to, and I mean, it happens to me too. And I consider myself a pure creative. But it happens to me from time to time. Certain influences get caught up in my work. And it's not a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing. I mean, if you look at the history of everything is a remix of everything. And there's actually like a documentary called Everything is a Remix. You should look it up. But it pretty much explains how everything derives from something else that pre-existed. But you take something and then you add on to it and it becomes something else. And the add on to it part, that's the part where that creativity comes in. You think about Steve Jobs, for example, in Apple, when they made the home computer, the computer for home use. They took the typewriter and took the TV and combined them and made it, they streamlined it and made it, make computers useful for everyday people. So that was a way that they took something that already existed and added something else that already existed and used their creativity to mesh those two together. So don't feel terrible for being inspired by anybody or having some type of influence by other people, but what you don't want to do is like completely follow someone else's footsteps completely and then try to be in denial that you don't sound like them or you don't act like them. That's where it starts to get a little creepy, and so you don't want that. So my suggestion is to let your free creative spirit flow. And so what you're asking me now is, all right, well, how do I do that? How do I really access that true potential in me as an artist or a producer, and get into the depths of my creativity? And for me, and this works for me, and I'm pretty sure it'll work for most other people, and that's meditation. And what it does, it allows you to really connect with yourself. And no, you're not gonna like meditate and then start, well, I mean, it could happen, but generally you're not gonna just start meditating and start creating things in your mind, like melodies, and start playing it immediately. Yes, that happens, but in general, once you develop a system, a habit of meditating every day, over time it'll allow you to become one with yourself, and then you won't have to try to be creative. It'll just come out, and it will be natural. And that's really what this is all about. That's what life is about, just being natural and being happy and having fun. So that's my little bit for you today, is just to be creative. Don't be afraid to be yourself, because at the end of the day, that will be what is most respected by other people, and the best received version of you is when you're yourself. So with that said, go ahead and start meditating, and it's Don Jarvis signing out.